All right, sup, I'm SBU. I've got a little presentation on basically the general guide of what you want to do to win a bingo battle. Now, this is by no means an exact guide. Um, it's not going to be like you follow this and you win 100% of the time. This is just like general tips I have done to kind of win the game. And then in the background on the left, I just have some background gameplay, so you can get somewhat of an idea of what I'm talking about. Um, but anyways, so this is going to assume that you're playing with the standard rule set, which is two captains, no macaroon. Motion controls is more so that we're just playing online, so they don't really work, but you could totally play with them, and I think most of this would be the same. And then we'd be playing on a 3DX version. The reason for that is that the reason why this matters actually is that enemies have half HP, and you also have the map that you can use, and also the controls are generally faster. And then this is also going to assume that you've banned map 5 and 6. So first of all, there's an overall game plan. Um, So you're obviously going to start with your growth, right? You spawn in with 10 Pikmin. That's not enough to win the game. So you basically just grow pretty quickly with the nearby pellets, maybe a nearby enemy or two, but you're not doing all that, right? And then you also are going to grab bonus Pikmin if they're available. Like on map 11, there's a bunch of wings nearby. But yeah, generally only go for them if they're like needed or if they're pretty fast. You don't need to be traversing like the whole map for them. It's not really worth it. And then after that sort of initial growth phase, you're gonna go and win. You're gonna go and collect the items that you need to win. So most matches will have you go for single line. In that match right there, I literally collected the 4 items I needed to win. Um, so that's about 90, maybe not 90, maybe like 70% of matches. Um, and then that's for every map except map 11 and 9. Map 11 and 9 are a bit different because a lot of things are like right next to each other and growth is like really fast. So you have like 50 Pikmin right off the rip. Um, on those maps, you can do the previous strategy, but there's a lot of like variance, especially the two marble layouts. I just generally just go and collect everything on those maps, and you'll end up winning somehow. Um, but yeah, that's only those two map things. There is sometimes where you don't have to do that, but generally on those two maps, you just collect everything, and on every other map, you just go for one line. Um, and then somewhere between that growth and go and win, I guess while you're doing it, you need to analyze your card to go and win. So let's talk about analyzing the card. So the way I do it is you basically work backwards. You start with the easy stuff. So, sheer grubs or other easy enemies, bulb orbs, other items that are close by. And then also just like two items that like are in the same line and they're really convenient to get both of. So basically like a small bulb orb and then a big bulb orb, and they happen to be literally right next to each other. So that would be an example of something that's like really nice if you can get both of. Um, and then once you like have your initial item that you want to go for, or couple items, right? You basically then just look at the rest of the card to determine if the line's even possible. So stuff you gotta avoid is no stuff by the other base. The line 3 items could be perfect, right? But if the last thing's just like a marble and the only marble on the map is by their base, you're not going to go for that line. Um, no like really really big enemies or items. What I mean by this is like the big like beady lawn legs on map 10. You're not gonna kill that guy or the item that's in it. So I would try and avoid those. Um, and then also you might have like one good item, like the shear grub that's right next to your base. But if the three items are just like okay at best, there's something you would generally want to do something else because it might be a little slow. And so your line should be generally fast. And right here, I've kind of got like a list of, I'll make it bigger. Oh, this is my first time using Canva. Um, but yeah, you got uh, this list right here is basically how fast I would evaluate like what your winning card should be. This is assuming you're going to be playing like against like the best guy in the world. So if you're playing against like your little brother or something, you might scale this timer up a bit. But what I mean by that is you on the first map and the third map, for example, you should be winning in under 90 seconds. Otherwise, you're probably going to lose most of the time. 7 and 2, minute and a half to 2 minutes. Map 4, 2 minutes to 250. Map that these maps to around 2.5 to 3 minutes, and then these two maps are banned. But Jigsaw Coliseum is the only map that a match should really go more than 3 minutes, assuming that's just like at the top level. If you're not playing at the top level, you can kind of just use this as like a general scale of what they should be. So let's say, it takes you 3 minutes on map 1, then this would become double because that's double. But you get the idea. You can figure it out. You can do the math yourself. You're smart. But yeah, that's generally how I would scale stuff. Right here, we're just going to go through a couple examples of how I would analyze the card. So map 3, right away, I see there's two bulb orbs lined up together. And I checked it. You can check that. The skitter leaf is also great. That's pretty easy. And then the apple, you can check the map. If the apple's nearby, which I don't think it was in this case, so I ended up not going for the line. But if the apple was nearby, that's a great line to go for. And even though there is a better line here with the sheer grub, the sheer wigs, the sheer grubs, the bulb orb, and the yellow marble, right? It might be technically faster, right? But you just need to see a line and go for it. So I looked at it, I saw the two bulb orbs, and I saw the skitter leaf, and I checked the map, I saw the apples available. I'm just going to commit to that right away. The faster you get your game plan, even if it's not ideal, the better. But let's say the apple's not available. I would then, start looking at something else that's easy. The sheer grub, I see it's in line with another sheer grub, so pretty fast. Bulb orb, not horrible. Yellow marble, if that's nearby, that's what I would go with. But yeah, you just work backwards from what you see is easy. So let's go another example, map 8. So I look at the easiest enemy on there, which is the sheer grub, and I see that the vertical line's not really possible because you'd have to kill the snagger, which isn't ideal. You could totally do it, it's just not perfect. But then I see the next to it is two enemies that aren't amazing, but they're right next to each other with the hermit crab and the water dude because they're in that pit. So all I would need left is the apple. I think this is the example from the first game that you saw, if you want to rewind to that. But yeah, so I ended up just getting the sheer grub. I got the two enemies that were next to each other. And even though the apple wasn't great, the apple was like, if that's the only thing that's like a little time consuming, then it's fine. So that's what I did for that map. But if the apple wasn't available, I would then go, okay, this, I don't know what it's called. Water dude is pretty easy. Let's look at that row. This diagonal row is not great. This sideways row is not great. But then the vertical line, the Wollywog's not horrible. Bulborb's not horrible. And if the blue barbel's nearby, then great. And that's like the general gist. You work backwards. Let's go another example, map 12. Right away, I would see the small bulborb. You could look at what it has. So you have the whip tongue, which isn't horrible. The orange, which isn't horrible, and the strawberry, which isn't horrible. But that's like kind of like three things. that are kind of pretty slow. But so I ended up not going for that line because even though it has the one great thing that's like free, it has three really slow items. So it's just not great. I actually had map knowledge, so I knew the Wally Wog and uh, whatever the fuck that guy's called were pretty near each other. So I went with that. And the blue marble ended up being really near them as well. So it was like kind of like a 3-for-1. And then all I needed at that point was the whip tongue, which definitely took under 3 minutes because it's map 12. So it ended up being a great line. And then, so that's like three examples of the one strategy. Here's an example of map 11, where I talked about just like collecting absolutely everything. This is an example of like what one of your boards could look like. Obviously, there are going to be some times where you can just get the winning item and win, but there isn't really like a great way you could look at this because there's, especially on the marble layout, because the yellow marble is random, this is random, and there's a few other inconsistencies. So I just ended up just collecting absolutely everything for that map. So that's just like what it could look like, and it ends up being fine. I did win that game. Um, so I've been talking to it this point as if it's a one-player game, but obviously it's not a one-player game. So what about your opponent? So if your opponent's already carrying something back and you walk up to them and try to take it from them, you're not going to win 95% of the time. But there are a few things you can do. So, as discussed previously, trying to take it from them just won't work due to the finicky of this game. But if you don't let them get it in the first place, if we go back here to the first example with the Skitterleaf and the bulb orbs, right? All I kind of need to go out for is the apple. If let's say that's player two's card, I could look at that and be like, this guy needs the apple. I could go out and get the apple, and then he can't go for that line anymore. So that's kind of like what you would do if they need something, is you get it first. But if they already have it at that point, there really isn't much you can do. You can go for like a bomb or a lightning play. What I mean by that is you throw a bomb at them, at the thing, force them to whistle off, and then try and load it that instant immediately before them and maybe take it away that way. And you can do the same thing with lightning. But that's pretty much the only way to steal things from someone. The other way is if they have no Pikmin. Let's say they're carrying back like a banana. It weighs 15. They have exactly 15. At that moment, you could probably steal it from them if you had, let's say, 30. Because all you got to do is kill like one or two of their Pikmin and they can no longer bring it back. And then all you got to do is carry it back yourself. But outside of those two scenarios, you're generally not going to have much success with trying to take stuff from your opponent. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Reach out to me if you need more help with what I'm saying or if I need to clarify anything. Again, this is not going to be like a one-to-one exact guide. This is more so me just talking and rambling with a crappy PowerPoint I made. But I just wanted to get a few points across of what you should generally do. Thank you.